Welcome to the Dr. Remina Panjwani Show, where we're optimizing wellness together. I am your host, Dr. Remina. Today, we're going to dive into holistic fitness with Krista Marie. Krista is a former Army veteran who turned model, influencer, and personal trainer. Welcome, Krista. Glad to have you here. Welcome. I am so excited to have a special guest today. I have Krista here, and she is lovely, and she's lovely in person as she is on the screen. So those of you that aren't familiar with Krista, let's just dive in. Who are you?
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here. So I'm a women's only fitness trainer and fitness coach, if you will. I work from a holistic point. I don't like the word holistic because I feel like it's been oversaturated. People look at you like you do some crazy voodoo. I think when I talk, like people usually like you do like woo stuff, and I think that's so true.
Yeah. People have that misconception.
Yeah. So I just like to say fitness trainer, or I like to say I help women who struggle with consistency to get results or to make changes in their life that actually sticks. And I think everybody wants that. They don't want to just go from coach to coach, or I'll often get clients and I'm like, what have you tried? And they'll say, I tried this coach, I've tried this coach, I've tried this. And I don't want to just be on the record of another coach that doesn't work. Right. So that's why I work from a holistic standpoint.
And I think what's unique too, when you capture that holistic, it truly includes the mind, body, and spirit part. Because you could focus on the training, right? Yeah. You can find so many other options out there that just do the training and get you just the physical results. But I think what I like about your approach is when you do add the holistic aspect, it is truly holistic. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that the physical part and what to eat, that's so easy. That's like 10% of where my energy and time goes into it, especially because the amount of experience I have, the amount of knowledge I have, it's so easy for me to tell somebody what to eat and what to do. But I refuse to do that because I'm not trying to just sell you a program. I have women that message me or contact me and they ask me, can you give me an ab workout? And I say, no, I'm not going to give you an ab workout because there's so much more than just that. And if you're going to work on your core, there's more than just your what people think core, they think abs. Like, no, you need to focus on your glutes, you need to focus on your strengthening your back, and then all the body parts connected to that. So that's such a small percentage of what goes into getting physically fit, getting healthy, nourishing your body with proper nutrition. That's only going to happen over an identity shift, which takes time to get there. And so I work on, like you said, mind, body, spirit. So I work mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Yeah, that's kind of what all my program entails and how I operate and how I work and what I work with all the women on, and I love it.
Yeah, it creates a special bond and a trusting relationship and empowering women of all different backgrounds. Yeah. And speaking of backgrounds, you have overcome such a journey. And I think that's what makes you unique as well. Because there's so many women out there, and men as well, but so many people in society that struggle with, of course, you have the physical body, you have just like, I approach patients with, you have the organs, but you're also mind, body, and spirit. Humans are complex. And so together we can optimize their wellness, right? The medical aspects as well as the holistic fitness, the wellness realm of it. But what's interesting is how you developed where you came here. And those of your followers that have followed you for years have seen that journey and seen how you've developed into this, strong, compassionate woman. But there's a story, right? So how did you get there? How did you get here?
Oh, yeah. I guess let's go back to the beginning.
Right. I mean, the interesting thing is, we both come from a military background. And so that's where we also have part of our beliefs and draw in and can empathize with others as well.
Yeah, you know, I think that I've just always loved to serve is what it has been, and it took me a while to figure that out. I think some people, it takes your whole life to figure out what's your purpose or what do you want to do, and I'm very grateful that I feel like I found it pretty early in life. But I've been through a lot in life at an early age. I had to grow up very fast and experience a lot of things. There was the childhood trauma that I went through, a lot of childhood trauma, and then I went into the military, which is a community of a lot more trauma.
It's not exactly the most fruitful environment. No. It is mostly toxic and hostile.
Yes. So I was just surrounded by that pretty much my whole early adult life. I'm still in my early adult life, but now going into my 30s and my late 20s, I have done a lot of work to get out of that. And so I do have a lot of empathy. I understand what people go through. I've gone through so much, just abuse, trauma, environmental abuse, and personal abuse and trauma that I have made out of it. And I know a lot of people don't, and it's really sad. And so I just want to take my experiences and my story and pass that on to other women, and yes, be inspirational to them, but also take my experience and take my knowledge and all of the therapy, all of the books, all of the people that I've met that have helped me get there, and just take all of that now and be able to give it back. And then show that change is possible, because I know some people think that people don't change, and I think that that's a reflection of themselves, and that if you believe people can't change, it's because you believe that you can't change. And so I want to show that it is possible to change. It is possible to do a 180. Yeah. I bet there's people that see me today and they're like, "Why? Who is she? Who is she now? Like, I know 2-3 years ago what she was doing, and this doesn't add up. Like, what is she talking about? She's talking about God now. She's talking about all these things. Like, that's not real. That's fake." But no, I don't care. I've done it. I know people that have done it. I'm inspiring other women to do it. I'm working with women who are doing it, and you can change. Change is possible. And so I just want to continue to serve women and the world and pass it along so that more women can change and pass that on to their daughters, future generation.
You're shifting the mindset.
Yes.
And that is so big, right? Because you can change. You can let all that past trauma that's built up, and it'll come out in some way, right? We've spoken about this and you know, talked about the experiences and how it manifests in your body and also in your mind, right? So in traditional medicine, it's labeled as anxiety, right? Or mood disorders, or you could actually see it physically, right? You got that stress response, that stress hormone we were talking about, cortisol, by the way, a chemical messenger, and what it does to your body, right? So when you see someone, you can tell if they're healthy, right? Their skin is glowing, they have good muscle tone, they're pretty calm, their hormones are balanced, so their male and female symptoms will be okay, they're feeling their best, they're energetic, whereas vice versa, sometimes you just don't know it, right? And we talked about this too, right? Like, if you have that underlying trauma in adulthood, it will build up, it will show up in different ways and different symptoms. Maybe it's pain, maybe it's mood, you know, there's so much that people choose to ignore until they're ready for that change and tap into it and do the work. And people sometimes, they don't know, they just need someone to guide them, to show them that this isn't the way you have to live, that you can use those experiences and find what that root trigger is, what the root cause is, and be a better person and thrive, you know?
And I think that when you're living in it, it's hard to see sometimes. Now that I'm out of it, I can look at somebody, and I do see things from a spiritual perspective, just because the biggest transition for me was when I found God. You could see the night and day. And so, yes, I see it from are you mentally healthy? Are you emotionally healthy? Once again, are you spiritually healthy? And that's just because I did extensive therapy. I have seen doctors. I've done all of the physical side, and then the missing key was the spiritual side for me, to be able to feel again and to be able to be intimate again, which is very hard if you've gone through a lot of trauma, especially in the military community. And so now I can look at somebody, and because I've been there, and I can tell when they suffer from disassociation. I can tell when they aren't able to be intimate. I can tell when they're just not healthy. You can see it in their eyes, you can see it in their, like you said, their body, their muscle mass, their energy levels, that calmness, that are they making up for something? There's just so much you could see now in somebody physically.
Absolutely, yeah, and it makes sense too, right? If you think about it, the trauma sits in the stress, I would say, especially when it comes to intimacy in any level. Intimacy between just, getting close to family or friends or a relationship with your significant other. And it can be pretty traumatizing, it can be pretty disruptive, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Your body does release an actual chemical response, and people in traditional and conventional medicine out there are just accepting it, like, okay, I don't know, I just run. If someone gets close to me, I just run. I can't get intimate, or I just don't feel my best self, and this is just the way it is. Life just sucks. And it doesn't have to be that, right? You can shift your mind by doing so many different modalities, right? You could do exercise, you could do the spiritual work, you could do meditative work, breath work. All that is scientifically tied back to how your body releases all those chemicals, right? The happy hormones, the neurotransmitters. So all the big terms that you see, like you hear about the happy responses and the sad responses, maybe with all the stress that's going on, then you can't have a properly balanced body, right? So you have to figure out how to reset that stress response. And of course, lifestyle goes a long way. So of course, when and you and I both emphasize big on lifestyle, you can train your mind. You could balance all your internal clockwork and everything, all the hormones and chemicals going around, but your body also responds to what you put into your digestive system, right? If you're eating highly processed, the standard American diet, the SAD diet, right? It produces that inflammation. It makes your body angry, and so it produces that stress response again, right? If you're not sleeping, you see it, right? We all feel it. If you're not sleeping, you become a grumpy old man or grumpy old woman, right? Real terms.
And if you're unhappy and your relationships are jacked up, or you have all this trauma or all this stress, or you're
you don't have a tribe to like turn to support,
then you can't sleep. And then if you can't
it's
sleep,
a circle. It's a vicious cycle.
You have to have all of these components aligned, which is why I work from a holistic approach. And I don't do crazy things like some people think, or I know some people do. It's all just,
which is fine, that works for them. But what you mean by holistic is truly lifestyle. Including the way you sleep, what you eat, how you feel, how's your stress release, how are your relationships, and what we both actually agree or also cross paths on. What we cross paths on in align is that sense of community, right? Because if you have a source of community, that is supportive too. And I always go back to the blue zone because people live. Like, look at Japanese people and maybe people in Greece and the other blue zones. People live really well and healthy and independently into their hundreds because they have that sense of community. Whatever your tribe is, you have a sense of purpose, right? Purpose being whatever makes you happy, whether it's your spiritual connection, because those that have a higher connection to whatever they believe, or, just a purpose that gets them up and going, right? And again, like, the relationships, right? Intimacy in whatever aspects that looks like. And that goes a long way. That's holistic. It's not woo-woo, it's realistic. It's going back to what works, right? And being preventable, because y'all, I see this all the time. I see patients in the hospital, and especially in this country, aging is looked down upon. It's like, you're decrepit, you're falling apart. Your last 10 years of life is a medicine, and you're bedridden in the hospital, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's prevention, preventable by what you and I put out into the world, and truly make changes way before it needs to show up as a disease.
I agree. I think that American culture I don't really see the stress of community, the importance of community stress. as much as you see other cultures or family.
Yeah.
It's not stressed.
People are lonely in the States, right? And it doesn't have to be that way.
It's true. Yeah.
You just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Where you can find your tribe, what makes you happy, right?
Yeah.
So going back to the sense of community and working with women, what I love is there's a different type of, maybe you could call it like a sisterhood of being like women empowerment, right?
Yeah.
Wherever your background is from. Today in society, it's a little bit better for women. You know, we're so used to being in such a male-dominated society, and I'm sure in the training world and the coaching world, and especially me being a female physician, I get it all the time. It's getting better, but I think what we need to bring forward is it's okay to be feministic, but also strong, right? And using that to build other women and men, because they don't have to just shut down their emotions, right? Because it goes back to how it ties into how you thrive or limiting your best self, and how you deal with your emotions and how you let them out. But I think what's really unique is the bond that you have with other women. I feel like there's something powerful about that because it's really empowering, it's really encouraging, right? So I would love to hear about, where that developed from you, coming from a military background especially, and how that ties in today.
Oh yeah, when I was in the military, my femininity was pretty much stripped away, and it began from day one of basic training, boot camp, if you will.
It's looked down upon, right?
It is, and I honestly, genuinely believed for years that if you cry, you're weak. If you show emotions, you're weak. And I was brainwashed into believing that. Or even in my childhood, a lot of people were relating to coming from not the best homes. And so we were, well, in my upbringing, I was taught that if you have emotions, there will be repercussions. So I went into an environment, the same thing, that if you have emotions, there will be repercussions.
You're being suppressed, yeah.
Yes, you are. And it was the motto is carry on. Goodness. And when you think of carry on, it's like, just move on, don't talk about this stuff. And that's so bad for you. And that's where disassociation comes into play. That's where having intimate relationships, and I mean friendships, family, just being able to have human connection, it was taken away from me.
Yeah, it's building up on that emotional debt.
Yes, yes. And like you said, you're looked down upon. Even the men are looked down upon for being certain ways, or not being told that they're not enough and that they're weak. And so imagine being a female in that environment where you feel like you have to prove yourself even more. Your femininity completely gets stripped away from you, and there's danger that comes with that. There's a lot of women that are hypersexual in the military, and I think, and I've heard from some psychologists that has that plays a role into why they're hypersexual, because they aren't able to express their femininity their whole time into the military, and so then the only time they get to express that is when they're being intimate with a man. And so there's just so much danger that comes with suppressing your femininity
and your self-worth, and that's so important of your identity, of the human complexity, the mind, body, and spirit component. And that's true, and it shows up in healthy ways, whether it's mood disorders again, or having sexual desires that are just either over or under. It can go either way. And again, it goes back to, which is so unique about the holistic approach of being a trainer and a coach for you too, because you are working on women's worth, the worth of not just being objectified, and that's so valuable. And it goes for men too, because even for men, even in society today, it's looked down upon, but it's not. How can you be healthy and thrive and respond and be functional in society? And then if you decide to have kids, or whoever is involved in your life, you're going to pass that down. And that's going to show up also as another dysfunction in your body too, right? Right? And so you work with women especially through this.
And there's a safety factor that comes with it too. A lot of times you'll see women when they don't feel safe, their more masculine side comes out. The safer you feel, the more feminine you are able to be. And I noticed that in myself. The safer I felt, the further I got away from the military community, the more feminine I became. The healthier relationships I surrounded myself with, the more feminine I became. The natural biological side of me as a woman started coming out, because I didn't have to have that guard. I felt, like I said, safe mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and I fully came into my best self, which is still strength and empowerment and being a strong woman, but also there's a gentleness and a softness that I didn't have before, and there's strength in that.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's almost a side of you too that becomes blindsided, it seemed like, to my rebellion. I was being very rebellious.
It was showing up in that, your micro traumas added up in that section in your life,
And it was, I wouldn't even listen to anybody trying to give me advice, because I took it as don't tell me what to do. So it was stopping my personal development because I wasn't feeling safe enough to be in my feminine. And so I wasn't growing, I was just stagnant, and I was angry. That anger was coming out more than anything. I felt angry so much being in the military and not being safe and not being able to be feminine and not being able to be soft. And I had a lot of discomfort around having emotions, discomfort around children, discomfort around other women. I used to get angry when I would see other women being feminine, and I would judge them and I would look down on them, and I would think, you're weak. But no, they're actually just safe, and they're strong enough to be able to be their true selves and to be feminine. And my whole reality was so clouded and distorted by trauma and repression and anger, which is why I left the military when I started realizing how toxic it was. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other women see that. That's why I provide a community of other women too, for women, so that maybe they don't have anybody else, but at least I can provide them with a community of other women that crave that desire that want that are missing those key pieces to that holistic lifestyle.
Exactly, and living a healthy life towards being the best version, for longevity, and it's all connected. It really is.
And to help your relationships too, if you're married or engaged or have a boyfriend. Gosh, these poor men, and this is a whole topic, but what I see oftentimes, and I've made this mistake too, if you don't have a girlfriend, or if you don't have women in your family, or just somebody you can talk to, you're gonna drive your man crazy by talking to him. And it's like, we need to release the men of this responsibility because they don't operate the same. And that would be another topic we should talk about.
We definitely will talk about that part.
They're not our girlfriends, and sometimes women get frustrated and they're like, why don't you talk with me like my girlfriends are? And they don't realize they're doing
They're biologically built differently.
They are. Or it'll cause them to shut down, and then it can cause issues in your relationship. Like, it's so important to have women in your life. So important.
And what I love about this entrepreneurial aspect of women, it is exactly that. It's not women vibrating at a lower frequency, I'm going to say that. It's women that are truly strong and embracing their femininity and being relatable and encouraging other women, right? I love referring to a quote, like, if another woman's crown is down, or if they have like something in their teeth, you're gonna tell them, you're gonna pull them aside, be a sister, and be like, hey girl, you just want to fix that, but not put them down. You want to support them. It's not a competition against each other. What I love that is you can do so much working with each other and aligning together and doing more.
Self-worth, building each other up is so important. I think too, who you attract is a reflection of yourself. If you're attracting other women that are, because that's not a reality to me. I see it online still, of women complaining about other women putting them down. Or,
it's terrible.
And I'm like, I don't even meet women like that. Or if I do, I don't notice.
Because you don't want to be around that path. And it's funny you say that, because you could even see that with, so if your group of friends eats healthy, lives a healthy lifestyle, healthy meaning they sleep right, they deal with their emotions, they're living, they're nourishing their bodies with the right foods and exercising and recovering, whatever, they're doing all the right things, you're gonna do that. But then if you have friends that all they do is just things that are toxic to you, they'll eat like burgers all the time, or they'll go out drinking alcohol, or whatever the case is, things that are damaging behavior, it's going to pass on to you. So you got to, of course, surround yourself with a positive tribe that builds you up too.
You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. You know, and I think it's important too to not want to be the best in the room. You want to surround yourself with other women that you aspire to be like, and be confident enough in yourself so that you actually want to be around those women, and you don't, I mean, they wouldn't even probably be affected by it, because I know that I'm not when another female tries to put me down, and I'm just, if I even come across those women, because like I said, I just don't attract women like that anymore. I once did when I was in the military, but not anymore. And so you want to be around women that you aspire to be like. Yeah. And if they'll have you, right? Because those women know too to be around women that they want to be.
Exactly. It takes you down a different path. An empowering path.
Yes, so important. So once again, that community that I provide because of that reason, exactly. It's not enough for me to just be your coach at times. Exactly. And, especially some women that I work with that are still in the military, that's been the hardest clients, because I know that community is stronger than I am. Even though I've been through it and I've conquered it and I know what they're going through, it's still so hard when you're living and breathing it, and it becomes who you are too.
Because if you can't change your environment, you know, just like in medicine, right? There are certain things you can change. Your genes, where you came from, your past medical history or whatnot, where your family history is, you can't really change that. But what you do today, how you live your life, what you put into your body, the lifestyle, sleeping, all that, how your mind, body, spirit, that's where you change it. That's where I love how we work together, right? Because you could be working with your client and, you know, I remember just, you know, we were just talking about one of the clients, you know, this woman is just so stressed and her hormones are off. She's not able to lose weight. She can't get out of her head. And there's only so much I could do, and that's where I come in and bring in the science, the functional medicine, personalized approach, right? And there's more you could do, and over time you'll see everything else will change. You know, body composition, the mind-body connection, just all of it, and it's a beautiful process.
It is, and I love the quote: "The best way to serve yourself is to serve others." Because I have to always be working on myself as a coach to be able to help other women and to go through these experiences to be able to help them as well.
Right, that's what makes the best. If you know those that have come from, there's a story, the most beautiful people internally, externally everyone's beautiful their own way, but I'm talking about the internal person inside, right? How they become that is the people that come from the darkest backgrounds, and they turn that into light. And people see that. That's what makes you be different. Your differentiating factor, your genuine factor. And people are more than likely to open up on their own struggle and listen, right? And I do that too. Like, whatever I tell my patients, you know, depending on what realm, obviously, you know, if they're on the holistic realm, like I put myself through that, you know. I'll say, well, did you eat this? Did you know, what symptoms are you feeling? Or, you know, if I tell someone to do a certain thing, chances are I've done it myself, so you can relate to them. And they trust you more. I
recently started doing breath work because you were talking about that and advised, and it's been helping me immensely. And perfect timing, one of my clients, she asked me about that, and I said, yes, I do have advice for you, and yes, I know about this because I'm doing it for myself. And I was able to share with her a very extreme case where it's helped me work through my trauma, because I'm hyper aware of people's emotions. From my childhood trauma from the military, of having to always guess people's emotions where there's repercussions. And so I'm working through that, and breath work has helped me. So if breath work's helping me of this extreme situation where people also say, oh, I'm an empath. No, you're not. Yes, you're empathetic. You're highly empathetic because you're hyper aware of people's emotions from trauma. That's not necessarily a good thing. And so if I can fix my hyper awareness through breath work, then it's going to help you when you're on your period, when you're dealing with stressful things, when it comes to just day-to-day factors. Just helping me with an extreme thing, it's definitely going to help you get through this.
And let's talk about that a little bit more. I love talking, you know, I love talking about that part.
It's so good.
You know, and breathwork seems so simple, but there's more to it. Yes, it's a simple modality, but you know, when you're always in that fight or flight stressed mode, even if it's your body's and your mind going back to that previous trauma, you're producing that same response, right? And so when you think about the breath work, all that hormones that are off, the neurotransmitters, the cortisol, that stress response, and then having your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, all those other hormones that people want to have in their bodies at a certain level, that's off. But what you can do that's always with you, it's free, it's breathing air, it's controlling your mind, is that breath work. And the one that we talked about, the simple one, is the box breathing. Yeah. And it's simply that breathe in 4 counts, hold 4 counts, breathe out 4 counts, hold 4 counts, and do it again. And you notice the reason why that happens, the science behind it, guys, is because it taps into your parasympathetic, meaning your resting, digesting response. You get out of that constantly stressed, amped up response, that amped up, go, 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 you're fighting for your life, to that, okay, I'm safe. I can focus, I can do more things, and I'm okay. That sets off, and that rewires your body's biochemistry. And that's beautiful, because the more you do it, the more you're setting it off to be your new normal. And you're changing the brain waves, right? You're changing literally the biochemistry. It's amazing. People need to breathe more. Like literally need to breathe more.
And I think too, one thing that's helped me, and this could be accurate, you can tell me, but imagining a box has helped me.
Yes.
So I'm like taking myself out of whatever is causing me anxiety, whatever is bothering me, that I just am getting in this negative thought pattern and starting to breathe heavy, and I'm literally imagining the box.
Exactly.
And focusing on it. So it forces me to be mindful, I guess.
No, mindfulness, that's it.
Yeah, and I think of what I see a lot of people do when they get in relationships, they blame their partner for causing them to have anxiety. They're like, you need to change these things because you're causing me to have anxiety. And what's interesting with my fiance is he doesn't think that way. And earlier in our relationship, we had that conversation, and I'm like, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. And I'm like, what if I did this? You wouldn't like it. It would make you feel that way too. He's like, no, it doesn't bother me. I just go about my day. I know that's not my problem. And I was like, how insensitive. And then slowly, over time of my own work, my own therapy, more information, talking to you, I realized, wow, that's what it's like to almost be a healthy person, and to not be hyper aware, hyper alert to other people's emotions, and understand that they're going through that. So it's my responsibility to fix that, to work on it, and to when I'm in those moments of like getting re-triggered from past relationships,
you know exactly how to break that right there.
Yeah, it's not
tap
up to
into
him.
your exactly.
No, it's not up to him or for me to blame him, which I see a lot of people doing.
Yes,
it's almost like the norm in society, or I see it on the internet, I see it on TikTok, I see it on Instagram, and women are like ganging up together and saying, yes, it's the men's fault.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, you're gonna just keep finding
internally, yes.
Yeah, you're gonna keep finding the same thing happen with different people in the same situation, different person, because you're not fixing your part. It's nobody's responsibility to fix your anxiety that you get because somebody else is experiencing emotion.
Exactly, that's why it's important to work on all aspects. And what I'm really excited about is you are also going through the entire functional medicine holistic approach, and we're gonna show the snippets so people get an actual idea of it, of your experience, because you are living it and you're already starting the simple changes, but it's specific to you and what works for you in your life. And what I want to tap into is also your fiance is such, he's very masculine, right? He's a professional athlete, but even then, what I like, and I can't wait to dive in deep with him too, is he's mastered that mindfulness. He is still strong. He still has that softness, especially like with being strong and being soft, having that balancing, but also knowing how to control his emotions and being confident about it, right? Because that takes him a long way, even in like everyday life with relationships, and one thing I want to tap into is as you're training, people forget about the recovery part too. So you go from like such a high-end athlete and a female trainer, and also me just being a regular physician. I'm not like a trainer, but I still train in my own way. It's the recovery part, right? You want to build up your muscles, which is good, but you want to maintain that flexibility. But also recovery is active rest. And so what I mean about that too, we talked about it too, is you notice it too, as active as you are, as young as you are, that sometimes you forget to just do active rest, right? Whether it's simply doing yoga, because that incorporates both, right? It incorporates the flexibility, but also a strength in a different way, and also letting you wind down, because as you age, yes, you want muscle. The muscle is the organ of longevity. It gets you strong, it's protective, keeps you going, but you want to bend so you don't break, right? And that's what I love to explain about that recovery process. And then also the other modalities, we're gonna tap into a lot, guys. We're gonna tap into, you know, sauna and cold plunges. And we'll talk about that in the next few segments, but also the mindfulness, the restful, active recovery, active resting, because people these days are so addicted to the phones and social media, but turn that off, turn that blue screen off, turn it off, and truly go do something that is recovering. Nature is so peaceful. Nature releases the good feeling hormones, you know, and all the things that make you happy, whatever makes you happy. But that is what you need to do. You do the training, you do the certain weight training, the cardio, whatnot, but also adding that recovery. Mind, body, and spirit, all of it.
Yeah, I guess it's like that yin and yang, right? You can't
exactly
always.
It's balance.
And I realized too, I kept getting injured. I train martial arts, I train jiu-jitsu for you guys, and my fiance is a professional athlete in jiu-jitsu as well as black belt. And so,
I still need to go do it. I need to tap into it. I'm gonna do it this week coming up. So
and yes, jiu-jitsu has parts of it where you have to be patient, you have to be calm, but it is still, you are attacking, you are being aggressive, right? Lifting weights, it's an aggressive motion. There's times where you're resting, but you need that balance of that. Is it the yin when you're resting?
Yes.
The yin. You need the yin. If you're always like yang, 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 you're gonna get injured.
Would you need to be in yoga soon too?
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
We so much to do, guys.
We should do yoga. Yeah, and so I had some people ask me, what are you doing that's like calmer and gentler? And I'm like, I like take a shower, and I go to sleep. They're like, no, you need an activity.
Active, yes.
And I'm like,
and this is why we see people that are younger in their 20s, men and women, that even your hormones can be off this early, because we're always on that stress response, that go, that build up, constant hits in different ways. And so the active recovery in so many different methods, depending on what your flavor is, it starts early, so you can balance it out lifestyle-wise. And you'll feel better. Injuries will be less. Your recovery will be better. You'll feel better. All that.
And it's so easy to get caught up in the go of whether you're an athlete working towards your goals or your day-to-day life, that you forget because you're doing so great for a while. It's like, oh, I don't need this. No, you do. It's preventative, which is what you specialize in, preventative. So so important.
Well, I love that. Well, I think, you know, we need to do another part 2 and part 3. We have so much we need to talk about, but let's just, you know, wrap it up. And how can people find you? How do people work with you? Because yes, we can work as a team, but sometimes what if they just want to like find you and learn about you?
So my main social media platform I use is Instagram. I'm on TikTok as well, a little bit of Facebook, but it's just so many platforms out there, and you and I were talking about that, how it tends to...
I'll put the link in the notes below.
It tends to drag you down, right? So I've tried to really just focus on one platform, Instagram, and so Carlos makes fun of me for my username, but it's Krista Marie. I couldn't find anything that was not taken. So Krista Marie.
But you are your brand, right? Like you are your brand. So it's the real you. So
you can look at my full name. Krista Marie Shipman is on there as well. That's how you find me. And I have a women's only account as well that I've created just to. I just really want to create that community of just women.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're different. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or whatever. So it's
definitely very different.
Yeah, it's important to have that. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah, and I'm excited to do a couple of combination talks at the women gathering soon, you know, with the training, and then also whatever wellness topic that they want to talk about, or just be there for each other. So I think that'll be great. But yeah, I'm so excited that we're friends. I love that. I can already tell we're going to be friends for a long time. So thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, share with your friends and family, and of course subscribe. Thank you so much for your support.